Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Salebox for the 17th of July 2012. My name is TotalBiscuit, rounding up your daily Steam deals. Remember, these deals will roll over at the end of the sale, so you do have 12 hours longer after the daily deals tick over in order to grab these. Also bear in mind that a lot of these sales seem to actually be repeating themselves on the flash deals, so if you do miss it, then there is the possibility it'll pop up in the flash deals over to the right-hand side of the client. So do keep an eye out for those deals. They do not stay around for very long. All right, let's start off, as we mean to go on, with the Indie Bundle number 6, folks, which contains 5 games. First one on the list is... At least I assume that's what it is. That is for the awesome, by the way, as opposed to reckless disregard for gravity. So there is a bit of a difference between the two, this being the sequel to reckless disregard for gravity, and that game was about base jumping, essentially. Crazy base jumping and avoiding crashing into things. Kind of like a vertical racing game versus the environment. Actually, ton of fun. Really is a ton of fun, so that's a recommendation from that pack, no question about that. Had a lot of fun with it. Alright, let's move on to the second game on the list, which is DEFCON. This is an amazing game! Admittedly, you kinda have to play it with friends for it to be truly amazing. It's a war game. It's a very depressing war game, actually. It evokes a genuine sense of, wow, this is terrible. It's nuclear warfare. Nobody wins. Except that someone does win, but it's actually a really depressing game to play because it's done in a sort of wargame style. It's a blue screen where you see the nukes firing over the landscape, and you see death counts and some really weird, depressing music and sound effects in the background. The game's cool as hell in multiplayer, it really is, because there's a lot of backstabbing that goes on in that game and a lot of tension. Not so much fun to play in single player because it lacks the human element, but it is so good. It genuinely is. It's great fun, it's truly unique and original. It's by Introversion that brought you great games like Uplink as well as Darwinia and Multiwinia. Please try it. Please try it. It's so cool. Alright, moving on to Space Chem, a game that I'm not smart enough to play. This was given a hell of a lot of awards for being an amazing puzzle game that truly requires a hell of a lot of thought, which is the very reason I haven't bothered to play it, because I know for a fact that I won't like it. Ticket to Ride. This is a classic. There's actually no doubt about that. Ticket to Ride is actually a classic board game. If you've not played Ticket to Ride, I've got to wonder what the hell's wrong with you. I'm not sure what the PC port is like, honestly. I haven't played it. I've got it on iPad, and it's wonderful. It really is. It's about building train lines, essentially, versus other players who are also trying to build train lines and see who can make the best routes by the end of the game. It kicks ass. And Trauma. This is one of those games that really isn't a game, honestly. Trauma is more of a visual experience as opposed to anything else. That said, unlike games like, say, Dear Esther, there is actually some interactivity there as opposed to pressing W and being narrated at all the time. It's very, very interesting. It's a really cool visual experience. It's a very nice looking visual experience. Not a very long game. It's very experimental, a little bit arty, but I think you might actually like it. It's interesting just to try it and experience what it has to offer, and it's not astonishingly frustrating like something like Dear Esther is, because you know for a fact that the game's just artificially elongating the experience, making you move really slowly, saying, hey, look at our cool art assets. This actually has some interactivity with it, so yeah, this is a cool indie pack. It's a different indie pack, actually. Pretty much every game on this list is different in some way. It's truly unique, so this is going to be a niche one, I think. Some people are definitely not going to enjoy it. Other people, yeah, they'll find it pretty damn engaging. Alright, let's rock and roll and move on, shall we? And have a look at Wargame Escalation. 50% off. Takes it down to $20, 20 euros or £14.99. Loads of people keep asking me, why didn't you do a WTFs with this game? I had a really bad initial experience with it, and I think that's because I ended up with the release version that was quite buggy. Like, I tried to do the single-player campaign to learn what the hell was going on with the game, and I couldn't get past the first mission. The reason for that being that I cleaned out everything on the map, but it didn't actually trigger the next part of the mission, so I eventually drove around trying to find these things, ran out of fuel with my vehicles, and just sat there looking like an idiot. So that didn't really help me all that much at all. The game's a fairly realistic strategy game. It reminds me a little bit of Ruse, but without so many of the clever tricks, and is actually by the same company that made Ruse. It seems like what World in Conflict would have been if World in Conflict was uber serious, and it wasn't just about throwing a hell of a lot of explosions at each other, and that game was absolutely awesome. I think if you're looking for a realistic RTS, then you could definitely do a hell of a lot worse than this. It does have an active multiplayer community. I think the thing that rubs me the wrong way getting into it now is that you have to unlock units as you go through the game. So it just gives me this feeling that I'm not going to have the tools I need in order to deal with my opponents. But it is designed to be played as a team, so I guess you can still be useful one way or the other by just taking a role that the team doesn't already have. There's some really good explanations of this game over on Rock Paper Shotgun that can inform you far better than I, so please by all means go and check that out. It seems to me like a game I would really get into if I actually had the time. Moving on to Call of Duty Black Ops, 50% off, $20, 30 euros, lol, and £20. No. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. It does have a reasonably active multiplayer community still, because let's be honest, Modern Warfare 3 kind of sucked. Black Ops also kind of sucks, but it sucks in a kind of adorable way, you know? It's got more charm to it, it's got more character to it, as opposed to Modern Warfare 3, which just flat out sucks. Also, at least Black Ops made some effort to be PC-friendly. Only some, not a huge amount. It's got an FOV slider that only goes up to 80, but at least it has an FOV slider. Modern Warfare 3 doesn't. Buying an older Call of Duty game that doesn't have mod support is like buying the previous year's edition of Madden. You just wouldn't do it. If you're curious, then I did do a WTF is of it. It was a very old one, though, so a lot of these lag problems have been fixed with it, but there's still awful issues like back spawning, some of the weapons are imbalanced, and some of the maps are just god-awful. Let's move on to Limbo, shall we? 75% off. That is $2.50, €2.50, £1.74. This is a very atmospheric, a little bit depressing, and rather scary puzzle platformer done in a monochrome graphic style. It's black and white, and it is really cool, and also incredibly frustrating. Everything in that game is out to kill you. I got a bit frustrated with it, but then again, I'm terrible at puzzle platformers, as you're well aware, so that's not really too much of an issue. I think you're going to find a lot of enjoyment here. It's not much of a PC game, I suppose. It doesn't really have any options, but then again, does it really need them? You may need to muck about, assuming they haven't changed this since, with your desktop resolution if you want a lower res than what is there natively. It is incredibly engrossing, though. It really is. It's a triumph of design. It is so astonishingly atmospheric. I would have to recommend it on that basis. If you've not played it, you've got to at least try it, especially for that price. I mean, come on. Less than the price of a burger, why not? Grand Theft Auto Complete Pack, 75% off. It takes you down to $12.49, €9.99 Tier 1, €7.49 Tier 2, £4.99 in Great Britain, yeah. For that price, yeah, absolutely. For the Americans, and possibly the Europeans as well, you might want to be a little bit picky and choosy here, because you only save $6.21 buying the whole lot. It's kind of debatable, isn't it, considering that you can get episodes from Liberty City for $4.99. Now, that pack has the Ballad of Gay Tony, as well as the Lost and the Damned in it, and those were really, really good. I'd say the Ballad of Gay Tony was better than the original, certainly. Grand Theft Auto 4 was just a little bit too serious. They made it a lot more fun with Ballad of Gay Tony. For a lot of people, it also ran better as well. GTA 4 had some really curious performance problems, whereas episodes from Liberty City, for some people, not everyone, seem to run a hell of a lot better. You can also pick up the Complete Edition, which comes with GTA 4, and then the episodes for slightly more than that. I don't know if it's really worth getting the whole pack. I mean, if you've never played Grand Theft Auto before, then absolutely, but I have to imagine that the people looking at this either own San Andreas, Vice City, or GTA 3. GTA 3 I don't think holds up very well these days. I'd say Vice City and San Andreas probably do, but GTA 3 not so much. It really does look old and horrendous. It's a crying shame, really, because of course that was the game that revolutionized the entire series. Thing is, in my opinion, Vice City was just better than GTA 3 in every possible respect. Just remember, if you're picking up GTA 4, you might want to look into the IC Enhancer mod. This thing looks absolutely incredible. It really does. It improves the graphics, specifically on the cars, to a ludicrous degree. well worth picking up if you've got a high-end PC. As regards to the games themselves, you may want to look out for the handling, especially in GTA 4, because cars do handle in a very odd way. Also, the game has a tendency of pestering you an awful lot with missions and demands to go out drinking with people. It's like, I don't want to do this kind of stuff in GTA, which is why I found Ballad of Gay Tony to be a hell of a lot more entertaining. I think that GTA 4 really dragged the series down a dark and serious alley that I didn't want it to go to. When it comes to GTA, it's always been about the comic violence and the satire for me, and you don't get a lot of that in GTA 4. But that's not to say it's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, and multiplayer is still fairly active. Alright, Stronghold 3 Gold, 66% off, takes it down to $13.59, €10.19, and £8.49. No, 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 no. Please don't. In my opinion, none of the 3D Stronghold games have been any good whatsoever, unfortunately. They just didn't make a good transition from the isometric strategy game to the 3D environment. They lost a lot of their character, they were a hell of a lot less fun to play, they were far more difficult to control, the camera controls were all over the place, just wasn't anywhere near as enjoyable. There is a Stronghold collection. The problem is the only game you really need to play from that is Stronghold Crusader Extreme, which is the best one of the entire lot. Everything else is essentially redundant as a result of that game. The problem is you can't independently buy Stronghold Crusader Extreme on Steam, so I'm gonna have to recommend that you avoid it. It's a really cool idea. It's about building castles, defending castles, and obviously managing the town inside the castle walls. It's got some great siege warfare, and it's got some really enjoyable castle building, at least the original couple of games had. And then everything went to hell with the others. Stronghold 3 is horrendously buggy, at least it was on launch. They haven't fixed an awful lot with it. It's just not very good, and that really upsets me. Honestly, it really, really does. I would love for that game not to suck, because I really enjoyed the first game and Stronghold Crusader, but the 3D games suck. I'm so sorry. So sorry to say that. Alright, moving on to Spec Ops The Line, 33% off, $33.49, €33.49, ouch, and £20.09. I did a fairly extensive WTF viz on both the single player and multiplayer components of this game. This game has very average cover-based shooting and an incredibly good story. That's what really carries the game. The atmosphere of the game, the storytelling, and the character development is absolutely outstanding. As regards to storyline in a war game, it is peerless. The problem is that the gameplay lets it down just a little bit. There's really nothing unusual about the gameplay whatsoever. It's just par for the course, run-of-the-mill, same old. But I think the storyline really does carry it. The problem with this price is that Steam got beaten to the punch pretty badly by Amazon, who actually offered this game at a significantly lower price via their digital service, which actually allowed you to register on Steam. That sale is now over, so if you did miss out, then that kind of sucks. It's not a bad discount for a very new game, certainly. Just bear in mind the multiplayer is probably not something that will keep you engaged all that long. I mean, I had a little bit of fun with it, but I have no desire to really revisit it, and the campaign will last about 6-7 hours with not so much replay value. As an immersive and quite frankly rather depressing experience, it is peerless. It is so good, but I don't know if I can recommend it for that price because really it's not a huge discount. The PC port is also not amazing. It's okay. It's just not as great as I would hope. It's got things like mouse smoothing locked on. They then encrypted the .ini files. However, our good old friends over at PCGamingWiki.com have a number of solutions to some of the problems that the game has. So if you decide to pick it up for the story and the single player, which is, again, absolutely outstanding, then head over to PCGamingWiki.com, search for Spec Ops The Line, and you will find wonderful, wonderful fixes. Moving right along, Rallworks 3 Train Simulator 2012, 90% off. Takes it down to $3.49, €3, £2.49. Don't ask me. It's a train simulator. You want to tell me what I know about a train simulator? Bugger all. You want to know how much DLC this game has? 109 pieces of DLC. The total price, even including the discount for DLC for this game, is $1,030.06. God damn. Ugh. It really is like the first sample is free crack pushing from the Rallworks guys. Here, have the Rallworks base game, and now buy all of our DLC. It's a train simulator. When I tried to run this for WTF, I thought it didn't even work, so God, I don't even know. Let's be honest, you're all going to buy it anyway, because you're curious. Like, it's 90% off, why not? You're curious, aren't you? Yes, I thought so. Yeah, you're going to buy it anyway. And the deal of the day, folks. The deal of the day for me has got to be the Company of Heroes Complete Pack, which will set you back $12.49, €6.23, £6.73. Europeans get a cracking deal on this pack. However, there is a little bit of a caveat. You don't actually need the whole pack. Here's the second caveat. The bundle doesn't save you any money. No, seriously, it actually doesn't. The price of the individual games is 1 cent less than the cost of the bundle. Here's the thing. If you want to play multiplayer, you don't need the original Company of Heroes. The only game you actually need is Tales of Valor. Tales of Valor is standalone, it's got some shorter campaigns, and it is designed for multiplayer. That's the only thing you need. If you want to play the campaigns, by all means, because the campaigns are actually really, really good. This is a World War II strategy game by the guys who brought you Dawn of War, and, of course, Homeworld. They're Relic. Relic are pretty amazing. Company of Heroes stands out as one of the best strategy games I've played in a very, very long time. It is absolutely awesome to play. I enjoy it very much. But you don't need it all. If you're not interested in playing multiplayer, then honestly, I just pick up the original Company of Heroes. It's got a fairly lengthy campaign. Alright, so you don't get opposing fronts. Obviously, that means you don't get to play the 2 other factions in single player. Not a huge deal. You still get a really nice campaign. If you want to play multiplayer, just get Tales of Valor and don't get the rest of it. So, overall, while it is my deal of the day, it's only an exceptional deal if you pick and choose from the pack. Do not buy the bundle unless you are dead set on playing all the campaigns. Alright, folks, that is me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching the Salebox. I'll see you next time.